Friends, family, and esteemed viewers, Sidewalks of America is proud to present, for the first time ever, Tales from the Table. As you might be able to tell, we're doing things a little differently today. I've been wanting to try some sort of animation thing that wasn't stop motion for a while now. So we're going to try this video style out and see how it goes. Leave a comment below telling us whether you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please consider subscribing because it took me a really long time to make. This is a bit I like to call Tales from the Table. My friends and I meet every Saturday evening to play Dungeons & Dragons. If you don't know what Dungeons & Dragons is, it's a tabletop role-playing game where a group of people get together and go through adventures, fight monsters, and get treasure, and stuff like that. Just Google it. For this particular story, I was the Dungeon Master, aka the person who runs the game. This excerpt comes from the first adventure of my campaign, which I titled Wrath of the Underdark. When the campaign started, the party, aka the characters, consisted of an elf wizard, a Goliath sorcerer, 2 human fighters, a dwarf clerk, and an elf rogue. Now at the time I was very new to being a dungeon master, so I was not the best at the role. Of the players, only the Goliath sorcerer had ever played before. We were in for a rough night. The adventure starts with the characters in a meeting with the king. I don't think I actually ever named this king, so let's call him Ode. Yeah, Ode. Ode the Courageous. O-D-E the Courageous. That's his name now, so yeah. Yeah, there's like this dragon who's gaining power, and I need you guys to go stop him, so I'll give you like 1,000 gold pieces. Could you do that? Cool. What's funny is some of the players actually wanted more money, and some of them were actually plotting to kill the king, but let's move on from that. So the players had a bit of starting money, and they wanted to go and spend it, so they went shopping. Some of them bought responsible things that would help them in their quest, while others pulled their money together and bought an elephant. Overall, the shopping trip took about an hour for reasons. Finally, they departed on their journey, heading into the wilderness towards the dragon's lair. Let's take a moment here to talk about one of my least favorite things in D&D. Wilderness travel. Wilderness travel is so chaotic and messy, I can't stand it. Your characters could wander off and do something totally different from why they set off in the first place. I have learned better methods of wilderness travel, but remember, during the time of this story, I was really new as a dungeon master. To this day, I'm not the greatest at running wilderness travel, but I do better than I did in this adventure. So basically, here's what happened in the wilderness. The party is walking along merrily when they hear buzzing up ahead. To their amazement, they discover 2 giant wasps eating sap off of a tree or something like that. I don't fully remember the whole event. This was way back in January of 2019, so cut me some slack here. The party somehow managed to anger the wasps, and a battle transpired. After defeating the wasps, the sorcerer was like, "Well, hey, I bet we could track down the giant wasp's nest." At this point, my new DM mind was like, I had no idea what to do. I had not prepared for this, so I just went along with it. They did their nature check, and guess what? Sure enough, they located the wasp nest. 2 people went into the hive to look around. Then one of the fighters was like, "Hey, can we ride these giant wasps?" Sure, whatever, yeah. Looking back, according to the rules, the players couldn't actually do this. But no, I had to say yes. Why? Why, cruel world? Ugh. What happened next lasted at least 2 hours. Maybe an hour and a half. Maybe just even an hour. I don't know, I tried to block it out, guys. The party went around trying to train and saddle these wasps. In the end, only 2 wasps could be trained, and we finally moved on. Eventually, we made it to the dragon's lair. Shortly after making it there, a few goblins ambushed the party. One of the goblins sniped a human fighter off of his wasp, which caused him to fall out of the air, and he almost died. We hadn't even faced the dragon yet, and someone almost died. This was a rough adventure, guys. Before entering the dungeon, the party had to leave their mounts outside because they were too big to enter. This meant leaving the elephant and the 2 wasps. They actually never went back for these animals, so what happened to them? The world may never know. While going through the dungeon, the players fight a whole lot of mobs in order to get them to a high enough level so that they won't be absolutely destroyed by the dragon. Unfortunately, I had to skip a lot of the dungeon because we were running short on time. You see, at the time, I thought we were only going to do this one adventure and then we would never play again. This ended up not happening, and we still tried to play every Saturday evening. So we had to skip a lot of the dungeon and go right to the young dragon's lair. The players marched in very underleveled to face the dragon. An epic battle sprang into action. The dragon would attack the players. The players would attack the dragon. The dragon also had some minions, so the players had to deal with them as well. Everything was looking great until some of the players got too close together and the dragon decided to use its dreaded breath weapon attack. 2 players were caught in the dragon's attack, one of the human fighters and the Goliath sorcerer. The fighter failed his saving throw and died. The sorcerer passed, but that means he would still take half damage. Because the sorcerer had taken so much damage before the breath weapon, it looked as though he too would die. Some people had to leave, and parents were arriving, so we all just considered the sorcerer dead. The party left with the dragon's head to bring back to the king, and they all lived happily ever after, except for the fighter. Shortly after everyone had left, I redid the math and discovered that, hey, guess what? The sorcerer had not actually died. We were just in a rush and considered him dead. That means the rest of the party just left him in the dragon's lair. They literally left him for dead. Kind of sad. That concludes this video. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Let us know in the comments. This video was really hard to make, as I said at the beginning. I would really appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button and that bell. I hope to do more videos like this in the future, but it depends on how people like it, so feedback would be great. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye.